to be the man, you gotta beat the man right here.
Is the future of wrestling. You can call this the new world order of wrestling, brother.
Nobody is on my level. Everything I touch turns to gold.
Believe it or not, whether you like it or don't like it, learn to love it, because you have to listen to Wrestling is Real. It is the best thing going today. Woo!
Welcome to episode 748 of the Wrestling is Real podcast. This is KOP. A lot of things going on with the Royal Rumble is this weekend, this Saturday, Alamodome, San Antonio, Texas. Full lineup going on. The road to WrestleMania 39 begins, and the Raw 30th anniversary gave us quite a few things to work off of. And I'm telling you, we should have more shows that have more things going on like that. And there's something to be said about when I look at shows, any shows, whether it's on Netflix, whether it's on Hulu, whether it's on network or cable TV, and you see so many things that are going on in one shot, like the level of storyline play that's happening in front of us, and actually seeing storyline arcs starting to get developed. We're seeing real friction, we're seeing real suspense, and we're getting somewhere. Like, we're getting tension. The building of that is starting to happen here, and there were a few things that really caught me off guard overall with the Raw 30 show. But it was good. That first hour, everybody can say, was very good. You know, there was, the rest of the show was whatever it was. Bringing back the legends, if there's something relevant for them to do, is one thing. But where we are now, we got to see where we're gonna have right now for WrestleMania, what the Royal Rumble is going to give us. We know we're going to get two championship contenders out of those Royal Rumble matches for the men and women. And then we have to figure out what comes up next when it comes to, we'll see what the Bray Wyatt LA Knight match with Pitch Black and what that's going to be all about. What the Undertaker's entrance into the ring during the confrontation of Bray Wyatt and LA Knight, what does that say? I mean, that's got everybody kind of wondering, because we always kind of had like the thought, if there was some kind of a link where you want Bray Wyatt to be at that level of The Undertaker, but he hasn't. And now what has happened here? What is going on here? Are we getting something good that's going to really pay off? Because Bray Wyatt has not been at the ring yet, but he's had a lot of different segments. It's all over the place. From Uncle Howdy to the Firefly Funhouse, it doesn't make all sense to me. They need to kind of tighten all this up, especially with an opponent like LA Knight, which I'm going to just say, he doesn't live up to the level of what Bray Wyatt should be taking on. And the problem is that with, LA Knight, he's replicating Eli Drake. I never thought you could take that character and put it into their ring, which is why I think there was a reason why, when Vince didn't have him up here, never brought him up, I can see why. Because LA Knight is pretty much going to give us a feel of what The Rock or Stone Cold has, a little bit of that Attitude Era type of a intonation in his promos. Sure, he can cut a good promo, but it's not his own. In a way, a little more was his own when he was over in Impact, I think. But right now, no. Even in NWA, it was a little more unique. But you have to have catchphrases. You have to have things that are going on there. At least with Impact, you had the thing where, okay, if he does he's got the button. It was just something where if the crowd's not getting back and going along with his shtick, there's a problem. And that's what I don't see happening with him yet. The Judgment Day is very interesting. Rhea Ripley should be an odds-on favorite to win the Rumble match, because we need to see her, take on either Charlotte or Bianca. Like, Rhea should be the overall winner. That's what we like to see. But then if it's going to be her and Bianca, that's going to be a great feud up to WrestleMania. And then Charlotte needs an opponent. We have to figure out how good that's going to be. Roman Reigns holds the belts. We know they had a good match going on, which was used as a pawn when it comes to Austin Theory and Bobby Lashley. to where even in the no disqualification match, Brock Lesnar comes in, interferes, and Brock and Bobby are going to be back at it again after all this time, where I feel like we could have paid this off a long time ago. They're still going to go back to this feud. That's great because there's a story behind it, which they have not told the story of. And maybe that's what they want to do now. But it took a while for us to get there on top of that. These are the kind of things I've been thinking about from Monday and all going up and leading to Monday. Because it's that inconsistency of storyline development that's going on and how many matches you have to put in anything and everywhere. Even sure it's a 3-hour show, but it's like, can we move some of these stories along? And can we do something where we're not just kind of pairing factions with factions because that's what we're doing? That's the change that was made instead of just having the opponents stick on each other, which might have been 2 opponents or 4 opponents or whatever it was. You got to just attach 2 or 4 partners together and they just do-si-do. They kind of just mix partners and they go with different matches and different formulas every week. The same thing here with the factions, which is fine. It's just the way they're going to go with it because they want to keep everybody on TV as much as they can. They're not adding new people. And the truth is, you're going to have to live with the fact that some of these players here are going to just be here because of the fact that I look at the NXT show and there is nobody in my mind that honestly is going to make that big of a dent on that main roster unless above mediocrity is what you're looking for. Because right now that's what it is. It gets entertaining. The NXT shows you can watch. Yeah, of course. Like, it's good. I can put it on there. It's a distraction. And there's still quite a few stars I'm not really interested in. It's just the appeal. Everybody just feels like it's parody. It's parody booking across the board, but not even just parody booking. It's parody in terms of everybody's at the same level. And nobody's really going above and ahead. Like, we don't have definite jobbers. We don't have definite. We only have a handful of stars that are always going to win, always going to be ahead, with some that might have more momentum, but they're not even going to be recognized as such. It's those things I can't stand. And you know what's going to be the complaint that everybody's going to have out there? Well, then we're going to get all these part-timers coming back. Right? The card's going to have to get filled with some part-timers to come on back, do something with. What if Goldberg comes back? We already know Brock has come back. It was the original pitch that Brock and Stone Cold were going to face each other. What? Listen, you got away with what you got away with last year. Stretching thin what your legends, what your mainstay, main event blockbuster stars that you've had for 25, 30 years and expecting them to continue to go ahead and hold the fort. You can't expect that. You just can't. But they keep trying. 25 years later, let's get back Stone Cold out there. Let's go ahead and, you know what? Come on. And so you have that. Logan Paul's going to come back in. Him and John Cena, they're going to have to set that up at some point. Then whatever they're going to do with Roman Reigns. Because I don't see any clear-cut direction as to how they're going to go ahead and split the belts, if that's the case. And if anyone right now has been deemed worthy enough to take the belt for Roman Reigns, a belt or both, we still have to get to that point. That's a pretty big thing to do if they're going to want to do that. And they need to go ahead and explain that. In the meantime, we're not doing much with Roman Reigns except for the fact that he's going to have Kevin Owens. He's going to beat him this weekend, this Saturday. But then the other issue is the crux of Sami Zayn, which is the only part of the storyline where they're trying to say, okay, Sami's going to screw over Kevin, or is he going to screw over Roman to help Kevin? And that's what's going to happen there. But we'll talk about that. The segment with the Bloodline, the segment with Undertaker and Bray Wyatt, all that, and the build of Cody Rhodes. These are the 3 things as part of the blueprint that leads us into WrestleMania 39 and what the Royal Rumble needs to do in order to get this in there in the right place. Because a couple of things need to be accomplished here. Triple H behind the pencil now with Vince, somewhere lurking in the back. They haven't done much. I mean, look, Triple H can only do so much with just building that mid card and making it a little more favorable, more entertaining. I mean, more watchable. It's what it is. Because, they've been pulling, the 1.7s, 1.8s after football, right? Well, what is it? Oh, man, actually, you should look at Gerwig and just see what the ratings have been and see how far they've gone. Because I haven't looked at how far back they've gone when it comes to the ratings. I know the rating was great for this week. We'll talk about that. But when it comes overall, if I want to look at what the ratings have been and what Raw's done since football has gone away, because pretty much now it's gone, what has it accomplished so far? Well, we know that Raw was continuing to hold about 1.6 million viewers on average. A big drop to 1.489. Now it's because of the week of the Buffalo Bills injury, DeMar Hamlin. Other than that, Dynamite has been getting a little bit better in the ratings. Their numbers are a little more improved. That's good. SmackDown's been consistent. And Rampage has been consistent. With Raw, you're going to keep an eye on that show because that's where more things should be going on. But SmackDown's delivering with the audience they should be able to get. Bump a little more to 2.5 million viewers for the Royal Rumble Go Home show for Saturday, right? Building all up, 24 hours away. So you work on that. But other than that, they get a big jump in the ratings this week. Good for them. Because they needed it. Big time. Highest viewership since February 2020. So when pandemic came in, the start of the... Well, no, that wasn't even the start of the Thunderdome. That was just Performance Center in the most ripped down kind of place. But 2.344 million viewers, and they almost doubled their audience from the previous week. No, not so much. I mean, they did 60% more? 18 to 49 Dembo went up a lot. And for what it's worth, hour 1, 2.6 million, 2.3 million for hour 2, 2 million for hour 3. As good as can be. So when you have, besides The Rock, besides John Cena, if you were able to bring him back for Raw 30. Otherwise, you had a lot of the people that were there, the legends coming back, it popped the rating. And that's what you were going to get. Number 1, Cable for the Night. That's where that's the optimal place for them right now, if they could pull those numbers. And that is probably the apex, the plateau of where they're going to sit. They can't go much higher than that. Unless they really do something to bring people on board to watch. But I don't know. At this moment, their ratings are what they are. And they're still trying to work their way through. But when you look, the ratings are kind of all over the place during football season. Was all over the place. Now they have a chance to build up. Royal Rumble season's here. WrestleMania season's here. If they can keep themselves closer to 2 million viewers, that's what they want. That's what the plan is supposed to be. And the ratings are going to always determine where we're going to go if what they're doing a storyline is going to keep people interested. Because they're going to start bringing legends back. They're going to start bringing people back. Cody's going to come back. And all these mediocre players, all these not ready for prime time, NXT 2019 folks, the Garganos, the LeRaes, do we even see them on TV now? Mustafa Ali? No. So it's all those, they're going to be all stepped away. We're not going to see much of any of those other stars have been brought up. In the Dexter Lumis's, no. So we're waiting on that. And Baron Corbin actually surprised because him and JBL are still out there, but they haven't done anything with them except for just, the poker stuff, and they haven't really done much into building that character, which I just think they've been falling flat. I never thought that JBL needed to be a mouthpiece for Baron Corbin. And the thing is, you give the gimmick to Baron Corbin of a wrestling god, but Baron Corbin coming out like he is, he's in the casino gear still. More or less, a modified casino gear. It doesn't even make sense. I mean, Baron Corbin can still be Baron Corbin, but they need to repackage that guy. This shit right here, it's lazy. And I guess maybe because they can't keep repackaging this guy as much as they want. They have to do something else. But they're stuck in a spot, man. So Fightful Select, Wrestling Observer, a lot of people talking about the WrestleMania plans and where things were going to be coming up. So let's talk about that first. So there was a pitch that was originally reported that Stone Cold Steve Austin would wrestle Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 39. And Austin was reportedly offered an enormous amount to do the match. Now, Dave Meltzer reported the Wrestling Observer Radio that it was actually Stone Cold was actually pitched to Brock Lesnar. Lesnar and Austin. That's the match that we're looking at doing at. Now, that's not happening. By the way, they just made mention of that. Meltzer added that plans can still change, but Austin and Lesnar seems unlikely. Okay. Meltzer says, as far as Roman Reigns, I don't know, but I figure that whatever Roman Reigns' situation will be, we will know on Saturday night based on who wins the Rumble. Wrestling News.co actually reported there were plans for Lesnar to take on Gunther, and Gunther has expressed interest in wrestling Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. That wouldn't be a bad match to have. Would be the IC title be on the line? I don't know, but that wouldn't be a bad match to have. I wouldn't mind that too much. So I don't know what to think about it. It's just like, what are the WrestleMania plans? Like, we have nothing really set in place, and they don't have to because it's sold out. Like, there was a thought, maybe we're going to get somewhere with this, but we're not. Not at this moment. We're just kind of in limbo waiting. A supposed match with that, there was what it was. And then when it comes to The Rock, there was a report saying that his status he might not be able to work WrestleMania 39. So there was a first report that said he would not be competing. And there were conflicting reports about his status over the last few months. And Dave Meltzer talked about it on Wrestling Observer Live. The company did have a pie-in-the-sky idea for him to potentially win the Royal Rumble. There's been a backup plan in regards to Roman Reigns' opponent. He was only going to be involved via the time to get in ring shape, but he's been busy promoting Black Adam and now set to launch the XFL. So we're going to scratch him out. So we don't know what's going to happen there. It's like, I'm not even looking at The Rock coming back for anything right now. Here, it doesn't matter. Now, Joseph Statsuski over at New York Post talked about the whole idea of Rock and Roman as well. And he talked about the fact that if you're getting Roman and Rock and you got WrestleMania in Hollywood, they need to pull that match off. I don't think we get a match with him, but I think Rock has a confrontation at WrestleMania with Roman. I think we get. That's what I'm guessing. Because it's okay if he doesn't make it in and he can't go. Like, if you just have him out there, and maybe there's just something there where you put him into that storyline and he's evolved. He doesn't have to be in ring shape. He just has to be there. Maybe they could do something like that. I'd like to see that. Now, there's also the thought about Ronda Rousey and Becky Lynch, and that doesn't appear to be happening either. Those were two matches that people really thought and were early anticipating that was what's going to happen. That was a thought. So we get Rock. For Rock and Reigns, probably not going to get it. And we might need to start downplaying the idea that it will still happen, even though this was the right time for it. And they should have planned it much sooner. But they didn't. But we're at a precipice where Roman Reigns is held onto the belt for, how many damn days now? It's over 800 days, right? What are you going to do next? Like, what do you want to do next to really take care of things? I don't know what's going to be, but we don't know what's going to happen. And we'll get to that. At the moment, it's 878 plus days. I mean, look, we're here. We got to this point. 6th longest world championship reign in the promotion's history. Longest since 1988. And you definitely have gone and surpassed. You can keep him as champion. But right now we're at the apex. We're at the peak, at the prime of this storyline. Okay? At this point, it's not going to stay like this. The Bloodline storyline's only going to go for so much. I mean, how much longer do you think it can go? Like, seriously, how long do you think we can actually get this going? Because that's going to be a tough move to make. Now, remember, the Bloodline first started basically August 23rd, 2020. And then everything started culminating where we had, what was it, by October, and by the end of the year, you basically had everybody all together. All champions, right? So when the full Bloodline was in full place, you have to remember it was July 2021. Right? And so we're a year and a half of all champions, all champion Bloodline, and 2+ years of the Bloodline itself. As we know, we've had factions. Look no further than the NWO. If they're going to be able to continue to keep them as champions for as long as they are, I don't know. What they have done this year was the new pieces added. Sami Zayn and Santos Escobar, which has been what has continued to keep this going forward. And they can't add any more people to this Bloodline anyway. You could add one more, but I don't think they're going to. What they have right now is exactly the setup. What they can do is they could go ahead and do the thing where Sami Zayn does get dropped out, and then he teams up with Kevin Owens, and the tag title match is set. And they could go to that route. But as I've said before, how do you go ahead and continue to do a storyline where your champion is there unopposed, no real opponents, and of anybody that feels like you have a good potential shot, Cody Rhodes, who wrestled for a couple of months. He was doing Seth Rollins, a feud with him, got hurt, and now when he returns, he's going to come back to big fanfare. They've done a big deal of making the rehab of him coming back. They've made a big importance of him. He's recovering. He's making his way back. He's eventually going to come back. That hype, that build has been going on for over a month. So you got that going for you. And when you bring him back, okay, then what happens next? Well, now you're at the point where you get here. We need to see something fresh happen. And I don't know what that's going to be. It's not that the Bloodline's going to be stale. It's the fact that they don't have anybody to go up against that is stale. Okay, they've had, Roman has very few championship defenses, and the Usos only have so many defenses as well, which is fine. But you know what? After a while, we need antagonists. We need somebody to come on in, and there has to be somebody that comes in that's going to match up, and they're going to size up with the Bloodline. We need that. It's not going to be Kevin Owens by himself, right? What they have done in the Bloodline is, while there's been a staleness among the very top with the Roman Reigns and the Usos, their promos have been great. The in-ring stuff, just for them just coming out to go and do their shtick, and do a big promo at the start of a SmackDown or whatever, that's great. But they've had nobody to go up against. How many more times do you want Street Profits out there, or Viking Raiders, or pick them, right? And with Roman Reigns, he took care of Drew McIntyre. He took care of Brock Lesnar. There's enough. It's what else do you do? They need to have some opponents. And what the problem is, which I've been saying over and over on this program since Triple H took over, you need to build a main eventer that's going to go up against him. Was Cody Rhodes the original plan? I don't know. Why wasn't Seth Rollins the original plan? You've kind of just molded him around the U.S. title, right? So Seth Rollins is a gimmick in its own, and he's always going to get over. But yet you still don't want to go ahead and put him into that main event picture. He's a loyal guy, man. He's company guy, and you don't want to put him in that spot with Roman Reigns with the story that they have. They just want to put that in their back pocket, or they don't want to run that match at all. I don't understand why. But they should absolutely go with that overall, but they're not. And I don't understand why they don't want to do that. But that is a must go to. They should have gone for that somewhere. But they gave us one match where they went and took each other and Seth lost. But you could have done something more with him, and maybe they could have had some kind of faction with him where Seth could have done something, but they didn't. But there's no alliance with the one star that's ready to go up against Roman Reigns. We don't have that. Now, some people are saying, how about Sheamus? Well, okay. The Brawling Brutes have kind of just been there, but you know what? They've not accomplished one belt. Sheamus couldn't get the IC title cinched up. Brawling Brutes, Holland and Butch have not been able to beat the Usos. So what do you got? I mean, Imperium, you got Gunther just won the IC title, and they're heels. They're not going to go up against the Bloodline. And I don't think we're going to get any kind of face turn anytime soon with Gunther to get there. Because Gunther does need some big blockbuster matches. Him and Brock Lesnar makes all the sense in the world. How are you going to set that up? But right now you have to wait because we got Bobby Lashley to worry about with Brock. You got to get that through in the case they're going to go and eventually get to Gunther, but I don't know how they're going to get there. The main event picture is murky, and status quo is all they have. And this is where, I don't know if the company just has to feel like their shareholders have a certain interest, that things have to stay status quo, that they have to go and keep tapping back into their veterans to go and keep trying to do something to build hype for a big show because they can't rely on their normal crowd. Maybe I'm just asking for too much. Maybe there's just something where I just feel like I should expect more, but we're not. We're just going to continue to go this route and say, okay, we're not going to get any of the stars that are going to get built up, and all of a sudden they're going to become formidable opponents for the Bloodline, whether it's for the tag titles or for the Undisputed Universal Heavyweight Championship. But we don't have those people. It doesn't make sense why you don't have that. Look, at every other organization has it. Every other promotion does. I can go on and talk about AEW where, listen, MJF has a plenty of different opponents for him, but right now the focus is Bryan Danielson, and they're focusing on that in a similar fashion, but MJF is their star. Is their champion. And you're putting on a young guy, and you're building the future with him, Darby Allin, TNT champion. You're doing some things where you got stars that are up there and accomplished, the Acclaimed, right? And so, what do you do? There's something about, and then you look at Impact Wrestling, you got Jordan Grace and Josh Alexander. Well, it was Jordan Grace, but until Mickie James won. But then you had her and you had Josh Alexander holding the belts right now in Impact. And there's a lot of opponents for them. In the main event picture, you have to have some opponents around you. Good Lord, how do you think Ric Flair and the Four Horsemen were able to stay around so much? Because they had plenty of different opponents for them. Okay, if you watch, and listen, I watched on TikTok, there's one guy out there, No Context Flair. Hilarious, because he puts out memes, and he basically takes all this WCW, World Championship Wrestling 605 Eastern programming with Rick or Dusty or, whatever, doing interviews with Tony Schiavone or David Crockett, whatever. And the funny part was, I look at all the different, promos that they always put out of Ric Flair, of whatever it is. But Ric Flair always had different opponents. Sure, he always had Dusty always in his back pocket. He always had to take on him. But I always hear about the other stars that he has to be taking on. If it's not Nikita Koloff, if it's not Magnum TA, if it's not Ronnie Garvin, he always had plenty of different opponents to go after. And plenty of different people that would go ahead and take that belt and then somebody would reclaim. But it's been a long time in WWE where they've had a number of stars vying for the main event belts. The one that was most important was they decided to go ahead and combine. When they unified, it's a storyline that you can never pay off. Like, whatever you're going to do to pay off the split of the belts, there's no way. Now, of course, for business, they have to do it. That's been the modus operandi of the company, that if they want to go on tour to Europe or wherever, they need to split the belts. How are you going to do that and not put a tarnish on the bloodline, or not something that's logically a good reason as to why the bloodline drops either the unified belt, one of them, or either the tag team belts? And for me, I don't care about if those belts were split up anyway, because I think belts on both brands doesn't make a difference to me. If you just let those championship holders have to work double duty. But when you got Roman Reigns, who's working a limited schedule, works like a part-timer almost, but he's not. He's almost there almost every week. There's a difference there. And at some point he's going to get looked at, and I know Hollywood hasn't come calling for him yet, because honestly, we don't have the time to go away for too long unless something comes up, he gets something here, and then he has to drop it. I think that's what we're going to have to wait for. Like, if we want to see a change, Roman's got to have like some kind of picture deal coming up. Like, he's got to say, okay, we got a starring role for you. Okay, I'll drop it now. And then I'll have to figure out some way to scramble around and make it work. Is that going to be a good idea? I don't know. Not necessarily, but we have no other choice. Let's go into the storylines themselves. Let's go and talk about what we've already seen so far in the storylines just this past week. I'll go to that first, because the breakdown of just the Bloodline storyline with Sami Zayn, compelling. That's a segment you want to watch again and again, because it was damn good. They really did a fantastic job of putting together something where people were really concerned about, like, people care about what happens to Sami Zayn here. And he's going to be able to survive. Roman Reigns right now, who is completely skeptical of Sami Zayn. What they pulled off was tremendous. So here's what we got. I'm going to take this from Wrestle Rant. I always do a nice little job of just doing a nice quick run through of what we have. The Festival of Friendship we had 6 years ago. And what we had this one was the trial of Sami Zayn. This was good. So let's just go to the bit of the run back. Philadelphia crowd, by the way. ECW chants for Paul Heyman, who's about ready to talk. And he says ECW is dead, and I wish the same for Sami Zayn. Wow. Heyman saying it's an open shut case. He backed up his statements with footage. Sami is guilty as charged. Guilty as charged, a former ECW pay-per-view. Sami responds and denies. Sami says, my defense is I have no defense. Roman yells at Sami for not showing off enough respect to defend him. And I'll tell you, man, shocking. Solo Sikoa ready to go and put the Samoan Spike, which, by the way, the tribute to Umaga, that has made Solo Sikoa, that was the missing piece for him. Samoan Spike, damn good, solid. He's now set as a made guy. Like, we know that. I mean, Sami Zayn already knows, another level now connects to the bloodline, but Solo Sikoa right now is massive. So Solo Sikoa about to hit same with the Samoan Spike, and Jey Uso stops. Look, this is good storytelling. You give us a long time of the animosity with Jey Uso going back so far. Like, you played that and you stretched that out for as much as you could, and now we're here, and Jey putting together footage to defend Sami Zayn. The footage was great. It was comprehensive. They definitely pulled the whole thing right now. And Reigns rules that Sami Zayn is not guilty for now. But the animosity is at a fever pitch. They did a great job in that segment. Great job. So we don't know what they're going to come out with anyway. So Reigns and Owens, I mean, will that be the match that will close out the night? Because do we find out, does Roman Reigns have his match before the Rumble, and then we find out what happens afterwards? Because the placement of the match will be interesting. If they're going to put that at the end. I mean, I guess they will. So let's look at this now. The other segment that stood out a lot, of course, Bray Wyatt. Because the Bray Wyatt LA Knight story has been flat. Like, I'm not interested at one iota. The pitch black match, I don't know. It could just be another gimmick of another match that could really not do well. Like, I've been wanting Bray Wyatt to do well. He's been back for a little bit. And now that he's here, man, let's get somewhere here. Because they brought him back and the fanfare's been good, but like everything leading up back down to this and the whole LA Knight thing, it's fallen flat. I don't know anybody else is talking about this, but what they just did for Bray Wyatt, this was shocking. So Undertaker comes back as American Badass, interrupts LA Knight's promos at Wells Fargo, and he helped Bray Wyatt lay out Knight. But then we know that Taker said something to Bray Wyatt. People were calling out the passing of the torch. I mean, what do we do with that? The fact that Undertaker, a very brief alliance. I mean, damn, if Undertaker would stay around and actually be like a mentor to Bray Wyatt and kind of build him up, shit, like we would be very happy. Like, I don't know why they don't do something like that. WrestleVotes shared a story, actually. They talked about the fact that with Wyatt and Taker, that Taker told Vince McMahon after he beat Bray Wyatt in a singles match at WrestleMania 31. Okay, in the story I'm reading right here, I thought I knew it's only right here. Somebody wrote here, WrestleMania 31 in 2015. Bray Wyatt was beaten by Undertaker in a singles match. And that Taker has been a huge supporter of Bray Wyatt for a while. And Bray Wyatt would write over on Twitter, he says, "This moment justified a lifetime of sacrifices for me, a lifetime of people treating my uniqueness like it was a disease. Through all the bad times, I've never changed myself to fit anyone's narrative. I'm proud of that. Thank you, Taker." I want to know if this takes us somewhere. I mean, Taker now, it's like there is something there where you can acknowledge it as that. What is Bray Wyatt going to be because of that? Like, we all want to know. What is this pitch black match going to be about? Like, it's all mystery. It's been all mystery here, but the thing is, we need a payoff. The Bray Wyatt character, that's the payoff. LA Knight, he's an afterthought. And look, I was a fan of Eli Drake. I am not a fan in here in the WWE. I'm not. I honestly, I'm going to be one of those few people that says, I think he should have stuck around with Maximum Male Bottles. Look, I know it's kind of stupid, but you know what? There was something unique about that storyline there, because he was going to be one of the models. He was the guy that's working right there with Sophia Cromwell, or now, what was it, Maxine Dupree. Fine. Why do we take him out of there? Max was the head guy anyway. It's not going to be Massey and Mansoor. Mansoor. No, it's not going to be. There was something they could have been doing right there, because they were giving you some time. They put in some real effort. If that's what's behind it, you know what? Go with it. It was something different. What are you going to do as LA Knight? You're going to be looked at by the main roster crowd as this, copycat wannabe Rock. We've already been hearing that already. And he had to have come in with something a little more interesting. But it's Eli Drake at the end of the day. And it doesn't make a difference to see him out there. They're not going to make him some big winner out there or anything like that. No, nothing like that. What do you expect of him? So I don't know. There's that part. Then Cody, the build-up with him. They've been running clips. They had all this footage for him. They're building him up. He'll be back for Royal Rumble. Where does it go from there? Because Cody could just come right in, and then he could just go ahead and take the Royal Rumble match, which is where he should be. Because what else do you do with him? Cody's not been tarnished right now. His return from AEW, he's damn strong right now. He was put as such a big babyface star. That is the one that should ultimately take Roman Reigns if they're going to do anything. But they're not. So what do you do with him next? Anyways, I don't know. There's a lot to be said there. I want to find out what they're going to do. Anyway, let's just do a quick look through the Royal Rumble right now in terms of what we have. Of the matches we have right now, the men's Royal Rumble match has already been set. We got 15 stars right now already set to go. Kofi Kingston, Santos Escobar, Ricochet, Baron Corbin, Austin Theory, Seth Rollins, Bobby Lashley, Rey Mysterio, Gunther, Cody Rhodes, Omos, Drew McIntyre, Sheamus, Braun Strowman, Karrion Kross. Listen, as I said, Triple H, he gets the credit for bolstering the mid-card, because that's a very nice 15 men right there in that Royal Rumble match. Of course, you'll get some of the legends come in. You'll get some other stars coming in. But, I don't know if we're going to get any surprises in terms of any new stars coming back. We might get some return stars. I don't know who. But it's not nothing big a difference right here. Cody's your inside favorite. And then I take Seth Rollins right after that. Either one. I think it's Cody or Seth that are going to be the ones that set up. That's all I think is where we're going to go at. When it comes to the women's Royal Rumble match, only 7 stars so far. Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley, Candice LeRae, Raquel Rodriguez, Shayna Baszler, Zelina Vega, Emma. I'll tell you what, Rhea Ripley should be the only person favored in that match. And I like to go and see her actually get in there pretty early and just run through the field. I think that's what we should see. Sure, Raquel Rodriguez should be there in the Final Four. Okay, I'll give it that. But yeah, this is Rhea's Royal Rumble. It should be. The pitch black match, Bray Wyatt versus LA Knight. No clue what this match is going to be, but I'm going to take Bray Wyatt because LA Knight is just, he's like a footnote. Where Bray Wyatt's going to come back. I don't know why they pick LA Knight to be the person to go ahead and take him on, but I have not cared for this. Even with the kidnapping and the whole Uncle Howdy stuff, I could live with all that. I could live without all that, honestly. Give me the whole Bray Wyatt coming back now with The Undertaker coming out. We've seen things where they want to keep, calling back to Bray Wyatt and the rocking chair, the Firefly Funhouse, all the different personalities of Bray Wyatt. Sure, you've done all that. Well, what are we going to get out of him now? And then the other part is having Alexa Bliss still be kind of somewhat embedded and involved with this too. I don't like that either. But what are you going to do? Roman Reigns will beat Kevin Owens. And I don't think Sami Zayn turns on Roman Reigns. I don't think Sami Zayn's turning on Bloodline. I just don't think they need to do that. The thing is, unless you have a legitimate opponent to go ahead and take on Roman Reigns, and legitimately, and people can really feel like there's a good chance that Roman Reigns might lose that belt, Kevin Owens is not it. I don't care how much you build him up as a prize fighter again in his old gimmick since Triple H has taken control. It doesn't make a difference to me. Kevin Owens is still, he's good, but he's at a certain level. That's where he's at right now. So I don't know what to think, or where to put him in anywhere in the picture coming up, right? Bianca Belair versus Alexa Bliss. We need to keep Bianca with the belt. That's what just needs to happen. Keep her with the belt, period. There's nobody ready for her. I mean, they need to keep that belt shined up for Bianca and keep it ready for Rhea Ripley to go after her. Because that is the money match. That's the feud we want. Because that's the second generation, that's the next generation of the women's stars that we have, of that women's revolution, if there was one. It's not the group we have where it was Bayley or Becky or Alexa. And the thing is, we can get there. Well, Bianca Belair's already run through the gamut. Rhea Ripley should win eventually at WrestleMania. And then Rhea Ripley will have plenty of opponents to go after. Becky Lynch will probably be the first one in line. I don't know what you do with Bayley and Damage Control. Like, I see that's going on right now where Becky and Damage Control, they had that whole deal and Becky was laid out. And I don't get that part. I guess this one thing I do like is that we see Becky Lynch back now as the man. I don't mind it. I did like what they were doing with the character before. Like, yeah, it was kind of weird, but still she was over. And she's always going to be over. But she's back to original. Like, they now made her in the man character as she was, in the leather. Like, putting her back where she was. That's fine. I don't mind that too much. And so that's what I look at right now with the matches. So, I mean, listen, Royal Rumble is going to be so much to talk about Saturday night. And I will be doing a post show right here. King of Podcasts. WrestlingWithReal.com is the website. And I'll have the show up Saturday night, Sunday morning. We'll do all that for you. Take care of that. And that'll be fun. We'll see where it goes with that. See how it comes out. I got a few more stories to wrap up. And then we're only going to do an hour tonight. How about that, huh? So there's a couple of stories that came up. First of all, more on the Vince McMahon story on him coming back. So there's been a number of things right now where, of course, there's been blowback about why is Vince back here all of a sudden. So if it wasn't a part of that, the fact that the referee, was it Rita Chatterton, right? Is that her name? There's already been a civil settlement on that, right? And there was an old issue right now where there are some investors that are leading litigation. It's from Bloomberg that Vince's surprise return, he rescinded certain bylaw changes that would have seized power for the company's board. Now, there's 3 groups of shareholders that sued McMahon this month, including a pension fund after he ended as a self-imposed exile. So the lawsuits are in Delaware's Chancery Court, accusing McMahon of timing his comeback to seize control of upcoming negotiations over the expiring media rights and forcing his way back to leveraging a threat to withhold support for any deal reached without his participation. The other investors are the police and fire retirement system of the city of Detroit. And there's a third shareholder bringing broader claims directly involving his sexual harassment accusations. Look, people want to come on board and go ahead and go after Vince. Go ahead. But McMahon and the WWE have not made a court appearance of anything. Let's just make that clear. Of all the allegations that were put against him going back to July, and then he steps down, and then he comes back. Remember, he's not had one court appearance. SEC file on January 17th shows that McMahon had repealed the most contentious changes, restoring power to the board. The filing prompted the current dispute among the shareholders. And the investors, suing over his history of covering up sexual harassment accusations, they want to sever the case from the consolidated action, the bylaw-related claims alive, interfering with any fee requests. So there's a whole bunch of wrestlers in here, a whole bunch of lawyers getting here, wrestling around about this shit, whatever. They want to go after him, take him down, no surprise, and they will continue to try to do so because that's what people want. They don't want to see him here. Okay, fine. One of the story I want to take here, there's a couple of things. I want to talk about Mark Briscoe and the whole G. Briscoe tribute on Dynamite tonight. A little bit of what Dynamite had tonight, which we'll talk about in a minute. It's a story came from ESPN. Remember how we talked last year? How far back do I go back about the NIL program? When did I go back and talk about them? Because I want to pull that real quick because I'll tell you, I did a whole show about that last year, remember? Where I talked about the NIL program. And I'll tell you, I was really interested in what they were going to do. Yeah, December 2021, I talked about it. And they had a whole bunch of talent that's ready to come on board. And I thought it was a great idea. All these new stars coming in. And one of the stars that were, two stars that were in particular we were talking about, we have not seen Gable Steveson anywhere at all in a while. And see where he's going to be when it's all said and done. The other featured attraction of the Next in Line program, which you remember was the new program now for college athletes, which was changed after the changes to Title IX, the NCAA, where it's basically kind of a recruitment. where you have college athletes that can do work and get paid to be recruited and train for their future career in whichever sport that might be. So you have the basketball players, the Cavender twins, two beautiful, blonde, gorgeous, and also very influential on social media. They are out here, and they're doing the work right now when it comes to, we're trying to see if they're going to be moving up, and we're going to see them some point in a ring, whether it's NXT or they're going to move to the main roster. Well, no, the main roster is not right now, but like, just saying, let's look at it. So Adam Rittenberger is a senior writer at ESPN, talks about this, and he makes the point about the fact that Haley and Hannah Cavender, they were at SummerSlam. They play basketball at Miami, by the way, the Hurricanes. And they were doing popular TikTok videos during COVID-19. They signed their name, image, and likeness deal with WWE in 2021. And like I said, next in line signs college athletes before the end of their careers, exposes them to WWE events and superstars, and then begins preparing them for careers in the ring. The Cavenders were inseparable and hard to miss. But they were Florida Fresno State, but they also made the move over to Miami. And also SummerSlam, they were introduced to Wyatt Howard, who was one of several prominent athletes attending SummerSlam. And what's happened, they said, is that the Cavender twins, their involvement with WWE marketing benefits has been, there's clear marketing benefits for both sides. But are they going to step into the ring? So next in line was here for that. But we know that everything kind of changed around when Triple H took over. So we don't know where things go from here if Vince McMahon is still, or even Nick Khan, if there's something that's going on that this is still going to be instituted. If we're going to see some stars come in, like Gable Steveson, NCAA wrestling champion, Olympic gold medalist, he's been training since October. We're just waiting to see if we're going to get something out of these stars that are going to move on up. So we said, the Cavenders were at SummerSlam. They're mostly going to be at the Royal Rumble. They have a 2-year NIL deal that includes making appearances at events and creating social content. And the Cavender twins have a business mindset into settings like pre-match receptions, recognizing who's around, different audiences they can reach by capitalizing on key moments. But they're not necessarily attached into the ring, which is, I'd like to see if they're actually going to go do that, right? And everybody's trying to think this could be the blonde version of the Bella twins in the same idea. Now, Hannah and Haley are going to finish out their season in Miami, and they could go for an extra eligibility year for the 2023-2024 season. They thought about playing in WNBA, but could have other career paths, including WWE. So they're not sure what they're going to do, but we're waiting to see if they're actually going to move forward. Because I'd like to see if the next in line program is going to bring some stars that are going to come on board. We know Joe Spivak, former Northwestern player, he's now known as Tank Ledger, is competing at NXT. And we know there are others that have come through and they're not going to reach the ring. But can we get something out of this program that actually plays off? I don't know. We're just trying to work on it, right? So the question is, if they're going to ultimately share a corner of the ring, and the idea was supposed to be to identify potential talent early, as many superstars begin their careers in their late 20s. The Cavenders are both 22 years old on January 13th, so there's plenty of time. I'm just waiting to see if they come across. But like I said, this story came across my feed. I want to see something, results off of that. Because where are they going to get their talent from? Where are they going to find anyone that they're going to talk to where we're going to see a direction in what's going on with new talent coming on board? Braun Breaker is so one-dimensional right now. Grayson Waller, he's got a gimmick. He's a heel. He's kind of just this, like a runt, like a rat, right? Joe Gacy's faction has meant nothing. I chase you, I watch, and I'm like, okay, whatever. Diamond Mine, no. Briggs and Jensen, no. It's just got these stars that are kind of just here. Nothing extra special. New Day's down there, and they're kind of just now lost in the mix. It's kind of weird. I don't see much of anything that really stands out to me at all when it comes to what they're doing right now. in WWE in general. I mean, they have a couple of young stars to look at, you know. Rhea Ripley, Austin Theory, Dominic Mysterio, but there's like so much more that needs to be done. And it's such a slowly machine. And you would think with Triple H at helm, you would try to go ahead and season up and reheat some stars to make them bigger. I guess he's done that with Kevin Owens. He's done it somewhat with Bobby Lashley. He's done it with Drew McIntyre, I guess. But they're only going to go so far because they've already been there for so long. There's just a certain stigma that they have. And the stigma that Vince left them with, you're not going to shake that off. So that's why you need new stars. And I don't know who they're going to get of anyone right now. Like, since Triple H took over, yeah, let's see, he brought a bunch of free agents back. We're not going to see any pillaging from the AEW roster. It's going to be anything significant. That's not going to happen. Like, they don't have any other place to go to pillage talent at the moment. So, if they don't have the free agency, their developmental system needs to be paying off. They have the NXT roster. They have the NIL program. Let's generate some stars. They need to be doing that right now. They're not. Who knows if they're going to get there? And plus, you want to ask yourself, like, what are you going to do then after that when it comes to when we start hearing things around the summertime and Vince is around? I mean, maybe we're just going to see status quo now because then it won't matter. As we've talked about for the last few weeks, maybe Vince is here. Like I said, I think he's here for the sale. And if he is, the next company that takes over is going to be very aggressive on what they're going to have to do. And that'll be the difference. We'll see if they do it right or though. That's the other point. Okay, that's my hour. I'm done. We're going to leave it there because there's a whole lot to talk about this weekend. Royal Rumble this weekend. We'll wait on that. I'll make a quick point. A bit emotional seeing Mark Briscoe going out there with Jay Lethal. Nice 15-minute match. Everybody comes out. Briscoe's face on the big screen in Lexington, Kentucky tonight, where they had Dynamite. It was fun. And it was a nice moment. And they're just rolling along until we get to Revolution. And then I'll have Supercard of Honor, which I forgot. Yes, the weekend of WrestleMania, which that's going to be another thing where we'll see how that all works out. What kind of schedule we're going to have for all that, because there's going to be a lot of events going on at the same time. WrestleMania weekend in California, I can only imagine what we're going to get. It's a lot, that's for sure. So we'll keep an eye on all that. Are we going to leave it there? We'll have the Royal Rumble this Saturday. Enjoy it. I'll talk to you after Royal Rumble. Come back for another Wrestling is Real podcast, because wrestling needs us.
Thank you for listening to the Wrestling is Real podcast. Find past episodes anytime at wrestlingisreal.com or subscribe on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, or all major podcast distributors. Follow at King of Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. This has been a presentation of the King of Podcasts Radio Network.